Ben, how
What's
you doing,
going
buddy?
on?
Just happy you're here, man. That's all I can say about it.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, well, I'm excited to start talking about this. It was exciting to see the changes in my soil test results, and just the performance of my lawn over the last year, just through a lot of the work that I did, um, through a lot of the help that I received as well from the people in the community. So
So when did you move into the house?
we moved in, I think it was like 1 or 2 days before Christmas of 2019. So December of 2019.
And how long were you in your old place?
We were there, I believe it was around 2 years. It was just over 2 years, I believe. So we were in that house for, a decent amount of time.
You had a lot of history on that particular lawn.
The old lawn.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I didn't. That was the lawn I would say I started learning more of the beginning to learn how to fertilize and take care of weeds and those types of things. I knew, mowing and all that kind of stuff. I did all as a kid, so I was fairly familiar with that. I did learn a few things here and there just to help polish that and to be a little bit more, better practices with that. But for the most part, that was the lawn I learned a lot of just basic things when it came to fertilizing and looking at the soil and those types of things, because I didn't do any of that prior to being a homeowner.
Gotcha. Now, when you were in that place, how often did you actually soil test your lawn at the old house?
I believe I tested it. I think I only tested it once.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say I think it was just one time. My first year, I don't think I tested it. I was just kind of dabbling, getting my feet wet with some easy products to apply, and then the following year, I was like, okay, well, I want to be a little bit more intentional with my applications, so I got a soil test and just started fine tuning things and learning more and being, like I said, just being more intentional with my applications.
Now, you first thing you did when you got into the new place is you did a soil test to see what you were working with. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. So, did you feel like in the beginning when you kind of went out there and you were dabbling and you just kind of threw down what you could get locally? Did you feel like you had good success prior to ever taking a soil test on the old lawn? Did you feel like you actually did well with that?
I mean, yeah, I would say for what my expectations were that year, I think as the a beginner, if you want to call it that, I would say I was fairly successful.
Cool. And then, do you think that it actually boosted by taking a soil test and being armed with that knowledge?
Yeah, I would say so because you're just you're seeing what you're deficient in, and just from a very elementary standpoint, you can see, okay, I'm low in this, so I'm going to probably need this. And, whether or not I knew like how many applications, that was another thing, but I knew I at least needed to have a fertilizer with either more potassium or more phosphorus or something along those lines. And then when it came to micronutrients, just kind of, again, very basic, looking for fertilizers that might have had some micronutrients in there just to kind of supplement those things in there as well.
Gotcha. So, and this is just your opinion. I'm curious about what you think about this. What on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think it is for people just getting into the lawn game, just starting to figure things out, or maybe just buying a home for the first time? How important 1 to 10 do you think it is to actually do a soil test right out of the gate?
Well, just coming from a homeowner DIYer, I would still call myself a novice in this. I would say it's, probably up there by a 9 or 10. It's probably one of the most important things to do, even if you don't know what you're going to, even if you don't know exactly what you're looking at. It's just a start. It's a point to where, you can use that information and maybe start Googling things or researching things, and that can give you more direction. Whether or not you're going to master it that first year, that's another thing, because I wouldn't expect that. I wouldn't have that expectation, but I would say it's one of the most important things to do. Um, but I understand at the same time how it can be maybe a little bit intimidating for somebody that's never even mowed a lawn, and they just bought a house, and you know, those types of things. So I would to answer your question, I would say it's very important.
Very important. Now, and I think that's wonderful. I think that's a good thing for everybody to consider. And I think also how you stated this and started out like with your original lawn, and when you first got into it, you just sort of threw down what you got, and you got sort of maybe you exceeded your expectations, or maybe you hit your expectations, and maybe you were proud of your lawn, maybe you weren't proud of your lawn, but I would just guess you were happy it wasn't dead.
Yeah, and actually, that this before I ever started a YouTube channel, I did I wouldn't call it a full renovation or a partial renovation. There was a lot of crabgrass in that first lawn that I had, and I took it down to, remember taking that lawn all the way down to the dirt, essentially, to cut out as much as the crabgrass and stuff as much as possible. And I believe I did. Yeah, I did do this in the fall, or very beginning of the fall, and I remember raking out a bunch of just the dead material just to expose as much soil. And this was kind of when I was starting to get really serious, and I aerated, overseeded, and did a good top dressing of local compost that I was able to get. And that following spring, I could already tell, it was obviously way better than it was in the past as well. And that following year, because I had applied a pre-emergent, I had zero crabgrass come back up. And each year I could tell the lawn was just getting thicker, it was maturing, and those types of things.
That's awesome. So the soil test that you did last year, did you do it around the same time as now? When did you move into the home?
So yeah, we moved into this new house in December of 2019, and I collected my samples within like a week of each other. It was around the same a week of each other as far as a year, like and those types of things. It was the same time, beginning of March, because I looked at it. I got my test done at Waypoint last year, and I did it again at Waypoint again this year. And they collect all that information of date and everything like that. So it was exactly around the same time that I did my soil test.
Awesome. So you called on quite a few members of the community to help you and give you some interpretations and guidelines and materials to get everything up into balance. How would you say, with the soil test that you've got, and I'm going to show them on the screen here, are you happy with the way things turned out? And then there will be a follow-up question to that.
Yeah. So I nerded out a little bit when I saw the results, because I was actually very anxious to see just how they compared, because I did a lot of work all throughout last year to try to begin correcting things in the soil, and I knew it wasn't going to be a one season deal. I knew this is it's going to take quite some time to really correct things and get them dialed in perfectly. But I was curious just how much things had changed, and I never got to see this type of stuff of my old lawn, so being able to see the type of results from just being diligent with my applications with certain materials was really cool, just to see that pay off.
Yes. Okay, so here's the follow-up. The follow-up is, did you exceed your expectations in the way that your lawn looked? Knowing, there was no history on it. You didn't really know what it was supposed to be like moving in there. You didn't really have a good idea. But would you say that you, I guess, moved faster into satisfaction, or got like the lawn looking how you would like to by doing all that extra work and having that sort of roadmap with your soil test?
Absolutely. I mean, at the beginning of last year, when the lawn was waking up from winter. This was 2019. The lawn was not responding to fertilizer at all. It was not what I'd been used to at my previous lawn, because I remember I could put fertilizer down and I could be like, a week or however long later, and I could tell a big difference, and I just wasn't seeing that. And I had my soil test, but I really didn't know what I was looking at. So once I got a lot of help from the community and started doing those things that I was given and those types of things, I was definitely seeing improvements throughout last year, just the way the color of the lawn was starting to look. It actually was responding to fertilizers and just inputs. And then obviously coming into the soil test that I got this year, I'm like, it's just kind of, it shows this is why you were seeing those improvements in just the response of the lawn.
Very cool. Excellent. So, do you think that you mentioned being a novice? Do you think that there is fear from people when they first get a soil test that things are going to be bad and wrong when they see what's on there?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I saw last year's results, there's quite a few of them that are red, and
Red is bad.
yeah, exactly. Red's generally not looked at as a great color when you're looking at test results of something. And then I saw the pH, and I was like, man, that I've never dealt. I mean, I have only had a lawn for this is only my really third or fourth year taking care of a lawn, and I've never had to deal with any sort of pH issues. And I saw that, I'm like, I have no idea what to do, but I'm just I'm gonna keep doing what I know to do, and that's what I was doing. And then I was like, all right, this is beyond what my knowledge is and experiences, so I need to reach out to people that I know can help guide me in the correct direction.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, is there anything that you would say to people out there who are either on the fence about doing a soil test, or actually not even that? Let's take the soil test out of the equation. What would you tell somebody who just bought a house? Maybe it's their first house. It's their first time taking care of lawn. What do you think the first steps should be for them?
I mean, the first steps I think would be to go ahead and get a soil test, but also, depending on the size of the lawn and those types of things, find an area that you want to try to focus a lot of your attention on. So, sorry, I just kind of burped. Try to focus your attention on a specific area of the lawn that you think is going to be manageable. Like maybe the first year, trying to do the entire lawn is not in the question, especially if it's a large lawn that does not have irrigation. That's one of the first things that I will talk to people about that are wanting to seed or something like that. I say, well, what's your irrigation like? Because if you don't have a means to efficiently irrigate it, then, well, all right, well, let's just try to pick a portion of the front yard or just the front yard and just focus on that, and really dial in your I guess skills there. So get a soil test, use it to the best of your ability and what you think can be positive through research you've done, and maybe reach out to a few people or reach out to your local county extension for some guidance. And then just really dial in, good cultural practices with mowing and watering, and maybe fertilize a few times throughout the year. Don't get so overly concerned about weeds or fungus or something like that, because it's easy to get overwhelmed by those things, and it just starts snowballing, and you forget to start doing those simple small things, because those simple small things are really the foundation to doing more important things, or not more important, but important things like fertilizing and those types of things. Because you can fertilize all you want and put anything on the lawn, but if you're not doing the simple cultural practices, it really doesn't, help all of those other things.
Absolutely. Cool, man. Well, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to touch on this end. I don't really want to spoil the awesomeness that you're going to be sharing with your audience about your soil test and your adventure. So I think people are going to be very happy with what you had to share tonight, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be on here.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
Well, thank you so much, buddy, and I will be talking to you soon.
All right. Thanks, John.